Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second day of the Second Eastern Africa Bioeconomy Conference. My name is Tukelo Shai, and I am a senior agriculture analyst at an organization called Green Cape here in South Africa. But I'm here today in my capacity as a global bioeconomy youth champion. And I'll be talking us through the session today that is titled Shaping the Future of the African Bioeconomy, Stories from Young Bio-Entrepreneurs. But I think we have a diverse group of young people here today that goes beyond entrepreneurs. So we'll have a rich conversation here. But before we go into that, I think it's important for us to envision what that future looks like. And from our conversations yesterday and discussions, this has been alluded to some extent, that in essence, the future of the bioeconomy is one that is inclusive, that is sustainable, that is productive, But more importantly, it's one that's interconnected, which means we are working together and we are learning and drawing lessons across sub-regions, across regions, and across the globe. And so with that said, I think let's hear from young people across the globe and hear what their perspectives are on the bioeconomy and how they see that future. So can I please ask the technical team to showcase those videos?
Hi, my name is Ernest Langer, and I'm from the United States. I am passionate about the bioeconomy because it brings together so many disciplines and people to create the solutions to the world's most pressing problems. And I'm here because I believe that today's youth are the people that are going to make this happen. And join me as we take a trip around the world to meet the other champions.
Malangit, nakinat Kilashai, Kitokila South Africa, Delega Muswa, is a native bioeconomy champions. One to one or over Basova, courage, Kalipulagi. One, the Hatuchivadi Chalo, but look like a Jonaway.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening from wherever you are watching this. My name is Lucas. I'm a bioeconomy youth champion. I joined because I wanted to address the skills of bioeconomy. As part of the younger generation, we are the future workforce for enabling the different topics that will be covered throughout the conference, whether it's sustainability, innovation, or technology. We are part of that future.
Mein Name ist Jörn Liebeton und ich empfinde die Bioökonomie als extrem vielversprechend für unsere Zukunft. Und zwar vereint die Bioökonomie die Biologie, die Technik und die Ökonomie.
Hey guys, my name is Rafael Omar and I am part of the Latin American network of biotechnology leaders of Biotech. I'm really passionate about science, biotechnology, and of course, bioeconomy, and that's why I'm also podcasting about it in Fuera del Lab. I really find great that our public policies are including bioeconomy, but for me, the challenge is to implement it. And that's why events like these bioeconomy youth champions events is really relevant. I really hope you enjoy this event, but also I hope that you learn everything you can and meet everyone you can, because only together we can have a better future with bioeconomy. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, this is Marcelo Castro Alpizar, a biotechnology engineer from Costa Rica. I can tell that the bioeconomy is a clue model for the development of our countries. As a biotechnologist and young professional, there are a lot of opportunities in technology and with the production of biomass and inclusion of science and technology transfer into the agricultural scene. And that's why this is a huge opportunity for the development, the creation of new startups, new innovations to create value, to solve problems, and to walk into the future with a more smart and technological sustainable society.
And it is such important that we have such conversations with young people, together with young people, and we co-create this future together. So let's get a poll from the audience just to hear what they think the involvement is of young people in the bioeconomy, the development of the bioeconomy. So can we please just get a poll to hear from the audience what they think or how they think young people are currently being involved in the bioeconomy? So please, I invite everyone in the audience to please just click on the poll and respond to the question. And while that introduce you to our esteemed panelists today, young people that will be sharing some of their successful stories in the bioeconomy. And as I mentioned, we have a diverse group of young people. I'm joined today by Mr. Alex Kebarongo from Uganda. He is a regional ambassador and program coordinator in Africa for the IGEM Foundation. I'm also joined by Mr. Kolade Oladeji. He is a co-founder and managing director at Hello Farms. And then Ms. Cynthia Wambui. She is a certified nutritionist and wellness coach. And lastly, I'm joined by Mr. Jacques Simek to this discussion today and to hear what are some of the opportunities for you. While the poll runs, and I can see my connection is a bit slow, and I would like to also just invite the audience to please ask questions in the chat while we're having this discussion. And I'll start over with you, Mr. Alex Kebarongo. Can you please just share with us about your involvement in the bioeconomy and what some of the opportunities are that have been availed to you as a young person, and what other young people can learn about the bioeconomy, and what are still further opportunities to tap into as we're developing this new bioeconomy? Over to you, Mr. Alex.
Thank you so much. Hello. It's a pleasure to be here and to witness this amazing event, learning and sharing the experiences of the young mind and all those that have participated in the bioeconomy movement. It's really a pleasure. So my name is Alex Chabarongo. I'm a veterinary science candidate at Makerere University in Uganda. And I'm a regional ambassador program coordinator for Africa for the IGEM Foundation. And IGEM Foundation is an independent non-profit organization that is dedicated to advance synthetic biology, education and competition, and the development of the open community and collaboration that is done through fostering open and cooperative community and friendly competition. It's a non-profit that is based in Massachusetts, United States of America, and I've been working with them for the last 3 years. Also, I'm an executive committee member of Synthetic Biology Association, and this Symbio African Association is a forum for researchers, educators, students, citizen scientists, and policymakers that are largely convened to develop successful pathways, propagation of synthetic biology, technologies, and biotechnology industry. I don't stop there, but I'm also a co-founder of SISTER. SISTER stands for Center for STEM Education and Research, which is a young startup, and our objective is to champion STEM education and research through building off-shelf STEM materials for education, outreach programs for STEM related programs, and while steering research and startups that are STEM-based. About your question of the opportunities, I will start with those that are actually within India. We have the East African Science and Technology Commission, the strategic plan of 2022, and when I was going through, I saw great opportunities. Some of them involve establishment of regional centers for innovation, because what we need is to have an integrated of startups, of making researchers understand that it's not just about research and publication, but bringing the research into a startup, and the startups become companies. Companies, even biotechnology or synthetic biology-based company, it can be able to support that are below and also support the economy. Also, if I'm to be quick, there is also a regional tech innovation fund that is coming up from the strategic plan that I've seen, and that is going to be very good at the challenge domestically, especially with that in the value you start up your project that is a startup that could become a company, and then it doesn't cross the valley of death. It does with you there. I'm going to give you one example from myself. In 2018, I was among the team that developed a bacteria that can degrade plastics. As a young veterinary scientist, very passionate about research, and I was going through online conversations, and I found out that there is a specific bacteria that can have the ability to degrade PET plastics, the plastic bottles that we use that are choking our environment. So we got an enzyme that is synthesized, and we incorporate this enzyme into a local laboratory bacteria, an E. coli strain, to express a protein, which is an enzyme that can degrade plastics. But then over the years, that was 2018, and that's how I got to get involvement with IGM, because through that I participated in the IGM competition, and I was selected from there to continue working with them. So we did not continue with our innovation because of challenges with finances domestically. We tried to reach out to domestic organizations, both civil and the government, but we did not get much from them. And I realized that we need to have something that is centralized now with this Regional Tech Innovation Fund from the Science Technology Commission of East Africa. It could create a solution for that. In finalizing about the opportunities that we have, through IGM that I work with and Synthetic Biology African Association, we are bringing up programs like EPIC. EPIC stands for Entrepreneurship Program Innovation Community, that is looking at coupling local organized groups of synthetic biology and biotechnology-based startups and trying to connect them with the venture capitalists. Because most of the times we realize that when a team participates in IGM with their brilliant project, it doesn't go further. And we said that let's look for a solution. So we had to bridge the gap of the projects with connecting them to venture capitalists that can steer up these young entrepreneurs to become big companies. I think I could stop there to let others also share. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alex. I think it's great to hear some of the exciting work you're involved in and how you're very proactive with other young people in your work. Can we please then go over to Mr. Kolade? Let's hear what's happening in Nigeria. What are you involved in at Hello Farms, and what are some of the opportunities for young people there? Thanks.
Hello, good morning. My name is Olarenji Kolade, joining me from Nigeria. I'm the co-founder of Hello Farms Limited, a social enterprise and nutritional-based company, which focuses on coping the malnutrition challenges faced in Nigeria and Africa by offering stable food production solutions. I'm also a founding member of AgroLearn, a digital agricultural education platform that's charged with the mandate to bridge the gap between learners and professionals in the field of agriculture across Africa. I'm passionate about transforming changes in Africa, particularly in the field of agriculture, through sustainable projects for youth, women, and smallholder farmers by providing extension support, digital education, advocacy, and various projects based on methodology, agricultural projects to help to fulfill the mandate of United Nations SDG goals. I'm an agricultural entrepreneur, agribusiness consultant, advocacy champion, who in Nigeria has launched and implemented diverse agricultural projects among many crops and livestock value chain activities. I've also featured on World Economic Forum 2020 CIGA Youth Data Delegates, Independent Dialogue for the 2021 United Nations Food Summit System, among many others. There are a lot of opportunities for youths in the bioeconomy because I believe bioeconomy strategies will reduce the reliance on natural resources, transforming manufacturing and promoting sustainable production of renewable resources. Although the bioeconomic solution is considered a model for industries and economic growth, but leaders have not given it their full potential, leaving it a great deal of potential left untapped. So the bioeconomy has untapped and untapped potential stored within millions of tons of biological waste and residual materials is disposed of daily into the environment. And like we know, the role of youth sustainability, the role of youth in bioeconomy solution is to bridge the gap, strategically ensure integration, equity, since youth will bear the biggest burden of climate change. So youth needs to be included in the bio-based economy for environmental sustainability, human survival, social justice, and human rights, where social inclusion is defined as a creative approach to improve the lives of the most vulnerable. So with a lot of gaps that is being left in bioeconomy, youth can be brought on board to bridge that gap between and close the lapses left in the bioeconomy. So I'll leave it to my other panelists to take care of from there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oladeji. I think you've raised some good points there around the importance of youth to bridging the gap in promoting a sustainable bioeconomy. Let's hear from Ms. Cynthia Wambui. Cynthia, let's hear from the nutritional angle. What are some of the opportunities that you're seeing in that space, and how are you targeting that specifically when you're thinking sustainable consumption and production of food? Over to you, Cynthia.
Thank you so much, Kolade. As she mentioned, my name is Cynthia Wambui. I'm a certified nutritionist and a health coach. I am also an in-house nutritionist for some corporates and some local gyms. Some to mention, Tetra Pak. I'm sure some of us are aware of that. I'm also a plant-based pastry chef, as well as a local farmer. I grow some fruits, exotic fruits such as strawberries and some grapes on my own. And it's an honor to be here. I'm so pleased to learn so much from all of you. So moving on to the question, some of the opportunities that I have noted when it comes to nutrition, we can only talk about the main things such as food security, malnutrition, and nutrition deficiencies. So when you're talking about food security, we mean that food is now accessible to everyone, physically and economically, meaning that everybody is able to get healthy and stay and provide now their contribution to the society. But that can only happen if they're able to access food sustainably, safe, and at the same time, it should be nutritious. So For example, in Kenya, I will just talk in reference to our country. I feel that we have so much untapped agriculture, and I feel like we could go bio-intensive in terms of producing lots of crops, increasing our yields. We have so much fertile lands that I feel are unused up to now, and I feel like we should really look into that. I also feel that we can also train people now. Now, for example, I am from Jomo Kenyatta University. I did my undergrad there, food science and nutrition. And as much as it is an agricultural-based university, I felt like we didn't get the proper training that we could have gotten to ensure that we can now go to the community and share that information so that we can reduce stories such as famine, hunger. We only did things that can now go to the industry and so forth and so on. But I didn't feel like we could now have proper training that we can now work with local communities and tell them, hey, I've now discovered, just like my colleague said, I've discovered this strain of bacteria that can be used in something. Okay, how can I transfer it to the local community, and how can we share so that we produce lots of food? I also feel like we could invest. After learning and training, what do? We need investors, not just people who are just there. We need people to invest in us, and so that we can have an active business incubation. We can also look at our storage and shelf life preservation methods so that we can extend food. I don't feel like at this point we should be talking about food going bad. How? We're not as such as small-scale country, or not like we're not learned. We are learned. So I feel like those are not questions we should be talking about right now. Also, efficiency on food chains to reduce the cost of foods. For example, I usually hear questions on Nyandarua, for example, why is milk being poured up to date? And then coming to Nairobi or other places now that are not rural, we are suffering, or we can see a spike in prices while milk is being poured in a different location. So I felt like that is a gap. Also, we can have interregional trade where we don't have to go so outside. I feel like Kenya and Africa is so endowed with so much resources. Why don't we work together and pull each other up? Because I feel like most East African countries have a vision to be food secure by maybe 2030, some 2040, but how are we going to get there? We can also strengthen food environments by eliminating biohazards, such as my colleague said, intensifying recycling so that we produce quality food. For example, if you go to rural places in Kenya, you will find out that some food is grown through sewage water. Now, what is the nutritional quality of that food? I as a nutritionist, would not say it is up to 100. So I feel like strengthening how our environments are for food production is also an opportunity to look at. We can also increase incomes through the gaps that we have noted, meaning all these gaps are people who can be employed, meaning now they can be able to have an income, and that means that they are not struggling to have food. Now, when we look at nutrient deficiencies and malnutrition, proud to be here at ISIPE. We have insects and herbal plants. In my undergrad project, I did 45 locally produced products such as bread with moringa, and with my aim to solve protein energy malnutrition. And in my findings, I find quite success. Our protein content in the bread was quite high, above the RDA. But you see now, how do I implement that? I need somebody to invest that in me, or if the university can spot something like that, why don't we go ahead and bring it further so that we can solve such issues? Also crickets. My colleague also did crickets, and she was baking with them, and you wouldn't tell. If I hadn't told you, you wouldn't have known that these were crickets in the pastry, and they are really yummy. The next thing we can look at maybe is value addition and biofortification. That is being done in our flowers, I feel, and that's at least a plus for us. We can also find a way to avail supplementation, such as pumpkin seeds. For example, I know that if you go to our supermarkets, you'll find that we have some supplements such as pumpkin seeds that now are available to maybe the middle class people. So what about the rural people who are maybe not aware that pumpkin seeds have high protein content and other benefits that they could be educated on? So training is also very important. There's also dietary diversification, such as home gardening, and then we can focus on solving issues such as vitamin A deficiency by growing provitamin vegetables in our home gardens. That's a long-term strategy. We can also do soilless low-tech hydroponics. So I saw that in Algeria, in Sahari, they grow microgreens with very little space and very little water. And I feel like those are places we can tap in so that we don't have to say up to 2050 Mandela does not have food. How long will you sing that song? So I feel like those are the things that we can do. I guess now I can move over to my colleague and he can share more on his findings. Thank you.
Overview and your involvement in the nutritional space. I think you highlighted so many opportunities where we're leveraging technology and science and innovation for us to intensify food and make sure that we're producing more healthy food and tapping into some of the research that's already in place. Now let's hand over to Mr. Jacques Tusime. Let's hear from you as the East African Youth Network Coordinator. What are you hearing from your young people as the opportunities in the bioeconomy? What still needs to be in place for us to realize this future we are shaping today?
Thank you so much, Mr. Okelo. It's good to speak last because you can hear the stories, how the colleagues, young people, their stories. So sometimes you may not get a lot to say. But the good thing is that our ES, Mr. Muyambi, is here. So maybe next time we organize a side event for youth in technology at the third conference so that we can get to hear many stories of these colleagues. My name is Jack Tusime. I'm a chemical engineer and I did my master's in environment and natural resource management. But here I'm representing civil society and youth in leadership, youth in youth professionals, and private sector. I'm the coordinator at the East Africa Youth Network. The East Africa Youth Network is an umbrella body for youth CSOs. It also has a membership of the leaders at the National Youth Council, the youth in business, youth professionals, and students plus university students. It was established in 2013 as a platform to continuously engage youth with the ESC organs as provided in the Articles 127, 128, and 129 of the East African Community Treaty. We work with the Gender Department, that's where at the ES Secretariat, that's where the Youth and Children Affairs fall, and we have been at the forefront of implementing the East African Youth Policy and advocating for most youth issues at the ESC. The East Africa Youth Network is a member of the Regional Dialogue Committee. The Regional Dialogue Committee at the ESC brings together all apex bodies at the ESC, and we are glad that the YESTECO invited us. We have the East Africa Women in Business, and many young ladies like this one. It's an opportunity because many young girls out there are doing great work in bioeconomy, and it's great. We are also a member of the Secretary General's Forum. We have a space where we go at the Secretary General's Forum at the ESC and present our issues. For example, if we get recommendations from this conference, we'll have a chance in January in Juba to present and see that these policies are put in that perspective. The opportunities for youth are immense, like how they said it. But me, what I love most and what I take most as the biggest opportunity is that we are talking about bioeconomy right here, right now in our generation. That's a huge opportunity. We are the drivers. We are still energetic. We are still young. We still have our time. So the fact that this bioeconomy is coming at this particular time, it's a big opportunity. And me, I will focus on social issues as the opportunity, because bioeconomy, in its sense and how scientists define it, you can see like in Africa, it specifically focuses on social challenges. When you look at the unemployment that we have in the ESC right now, you will realize that when we invest in our youth, right now, the youth, like we'll talk about maybe Uganda, the statistics that whoever leaves the university, 7 out of 10 start their businesses. And now, if you will start in bioeconomy and you are supported, it means you will lift, like this lady can lift many other young people out there. I will talk about the opportunity of skilling as an agenda of the ESC, because this bioeconomy comes with a lot of skills, mostly in technology, and also as our agenda of industrialization. We realize that if we invest in the young people at the moment with trainings that are going on, with the technology that is available, we will have a skilled labor force that will even help us to achieve our visions of 2050 and the Agenda 2063. So it's a great opportunity, and I believe that we can take it up from there and we create jobs, have a resilient healthcare systems like how people are talking about it, and have the biggest challenge that we have in the ESC, which is energy, and we can now invest in clean energy through bioeconomy, and it really helps us. Then the social issues. When you solve a social issue as a young person, you become a hero. You can even get a medal. There are young people in Uganda now at Makerere University who are doing hydrothermal liquefaction of water hyacinth to produce bio crude oil, and they are using magnetic nanoparticles. I was visiting a friend at the university, and I found out they were doing that research. And you see, that is the challenge that we are. When you go to ESC and look at the Lake Victoria basin, the issue of water hyacinth is a very, very big problem. So now bioeconomy comes in as an opportunity for us as young people to solve those particular social challenges. And that way we will, I think, develop further. So I just encourage you guys who are doing research and the young people out there who are online, let us take up this and let us be at the forefront. Africa will never be the same with bioeconomy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those sentiments. And I think you've already started answering some of my next questions. But looking at some of the poll results, about 76% of the people in the audience say that they feel that young people are not sufficiently involved in the development of the bioeconomy, and 24% said yes. So this just shows you that there's still quite a lot of work that needs to be in place to support young people and create those opportunities for young people. And then just going into the next session, or the next question for this discussion, which I think you've all alluded to some extent when you were speaking to the opportunities, where you speak to, here's the challenge, here's how we can now resolve it. So I know yesterday there were some questions that came across, especially from young bio-entrepreneurs, that highlighted that their ability to actually be involved in the bioeconomy is hindered by lack of investment, that they're unable to actually access markets, and these are some of the barriers they encounter. And so I want to hear from you guys, and also just going into this with what next? What do we do as young people? And you've started highlighting this to some extent. But firstly, going into what is the core challenge that you're seeing in your own country and from the young people you're engaging with, and how can we further support So in the next session, when we ask how we are sufficiently involving young people, we can see the 76% being a yes and not a no. So let me hand over to you, Mr. Oladeje from Nigeria. As an innovator yourself, what are some of those challenges that you encountered, and what do we need to be doing further to make sure that we are able to realize this future and see some of the strategy measures highlighted implemented? Over to you.
One of the major challenges has to do with data. There is no sufficient data to work with, and then another thing is the enable environment. If like you want to work on a particular project, probably you want to work on bacteria and all, but for you to get the necessary raw materials you need, to grow the bacteria or work with them, they are not readily available. So the environment is not even encouraging enough, to work with. And there are a lot of policy, the government policy that is not supporting some of these bioeconomy projects. So when you propose to do them, by the time you take it out to get the permissions to do it, you don't really get it. So the government policy is affecting it, unavailable data, then the enable environment is not there.
Yeah, I think you're highlighting a similar experience that we've also encountered here in South Africa as well, where the enabling environment does make it quite tricky and challenging to realize some of these innovations on the ground. I'm curious to hear from you as well, Mr. Kiaborongo, as an innovator yourself. What are some of those challenges you've experienced, and what do you think needs to be in place to further address those?
Thank you so much, Ms. Tokero, for this question. I would first build up from what Kolade was saying about policies. You all know that as we were working with synthetic biology and biotechnology to build our economy, we realized that these are sensitive life sciences, and life science is supposed to be regulated. You've seen challenges with use of CRISPR technology, gene editing, and related research. All this has to be regulated. And you also know that we have challenges with our policies. I will speak from the Ugandan perspective, which had the longest stalled biotechnology bill in the history of our country. It took us since 2011, being taken to the, passed by the parliament, taken to the State House and thrown back to the committee. And, everyone is looking at the perspective of synthetic biology and biotechnology in terms of GMO. That's the word that they understand. But we are also still using the GMOs which are not regulated. So we need to structure out how we can be able to sustainably use the technology that is at our disposal efficiently and using it well with holding the responsibility of whatever you are creating. You have to hold the responsibility that it goes back to you. So for sustainability, I think policies have to be addressed. And on top of the policies, challenges, as I showed in the first phase of finances, but I think now in such a big congregation, even online and here, we will be able to fix the challenge of finances, because we cannot depend on international support for startup scaling to the reach of the companies. We need sustainability. So if we can do the domestic support in terms of financing this research that can bring us the startups which can build our economy, then we will be able to go ahead. So the challenge of financing is still big, especially domestic financing for some of these startups, some of these projects. And even when you identify a challenge or a gap within the system that you're working in or within the environment and you want to address it, you come up with your proposal, you come up with your idea, but you cannot do it without having someone to support you. So I urge the policymakers, the civil society and the government to ensure that at least the young people are focused on to when it comes to developing this technology, because we are the future of taking it further. Then the last one would be in terms of the curriculum development. You all know that we study science, but we have not yet integrated it into bringing the science together. Why I said STEM, what is SISTER focusing on to championing STEM education and research? STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So if you bring these models and you incorporate them into working together, then it becomes better, because biology coming with technology can solve a bigger problem than biology working alone. We have reached a point of using models, scientific models and computation systems. So you cannot do computation system if you're not working with a computer scientist or a technologist when you're a biologist. So we have to work holistically together to achieve the sustainability of the research and the startups and the production to build on the bioeconomy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You spoke quite a lot around the importance of partnership and drawing in all the disciplines in place so we're able to actually address some of these challenges. I want to go over to you, Mr. Jacques Tusime. You already highlighted some of the skills gaps that are in place and how it is important for us to actually make sure the skills are in place to support young people. How do you think we can go about doing that? Do you think there's enough, courses and educational material out there to equip young people to be able to tap into these opportunities, or is there further work that needs to be in place?
Thank you so much, Mr. Okero, for that great question. The challenge of bioeconomy is when it comes to youth, this thing is still an issue of professionals. Young people out there who didn't do science and who are the majority don't know what this thing really is. So what we need to do is to ensure that we look at a way how we can link bioeconomy to the people who are really affected by these challenges. And I think this is where maybe advocacy comes in, because what like Alex was talking about the biotechnology bill, we will find that you have members of parliament and 90% of them don't even know what bioeconomy is. And the professors who are there who are supposed to talk about bioeconomy are the guys who are in the lab. So there is that gap, and I don't know, we need to focus on advocacy. If I was a layman and I didn't have a science background, and I'm from a policy perspective, I'll be seated here and I'm like, this is their thing. So let them fix it. But what I want is to ensure that we remove the issue of bioeconomy from labs to the people on grassroots, and we take it to the boardrooms. We tell these policy makers that this is what happens in a simple perspective. Me, when I was doing my degree, I went to farmers and I was trying to tell them how they can make biogas and stop cutting trees. And that is basic science. But you see, there was even a challenge of, they tell you know what, the government can't give us electricity, we can't even get little money to fix these biodigesters. But if you tell this person the importance of bioeconomy and how it is affecting, because yesterday the EAC Deputy Secretary General talked about the issue of ownership. When you don't own something, you can never be part of it. And that's the same with the youth. When these programs come, they don't normally own them. They just keep hearing they are there. But now that we are in this room and we have started the conversation, let us go out there and advocate and it's better that everyone who is supposed to complete this puzzle is here. So let's try and focus on how we can take this thing to the grassroots. They talked about the issue of funds. When you're looking at the policy, they started these innovation funds and hubs, and I'm happy Yastiko is doing it. But you find that a young person to even own a small lab, a bioeconomy lab, a biotech lab, it's very hard. So we need now to go and see how best can we even make this easier and cheaper to ensure that everyone is in there and goes into that. Then when it comes to policy, like what Alex was saying, scientists have run away from politics. We as scientists, we believe that the issue of politics is about politicians. For us, we can fix our own issues. But it is very hard, even like at the ESC level, these policies are supposed to be pushed by scientists, and it is better when they are part of what? Of the politics. Because some of these people who are supposed to implement these policies don't have any political will. They don't have any political will. You will see a member of parliament in Yala is saying, let us give away this forest. We don't want to know whatever happens. For them, they're looking at today. But when they go back to the boardrooms, they will tell you about the sustainability and they start setting these agendas. So how are we going to link ourselves as scientists to these policy makers? And that's the big challenge, and the moment we solve that, I think we'll be somewhere. So we've started this conversation. Let it not end here. Let us advocate. You may find the bills just sit at the Council of Ministers. No one cares. The Technology Committee, of course, they are very few because we have to push. Sometimes it's hard for them. So when we push researchers, professors, and everyone, and we say we are taking this direction, I believe we'll reach there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think what I'm hearing from everyone is, there's a need for much stronger political will, advocacy, and ownership of some of this work and bringing it at grassroots level. There's also a need for more financing to be in place and a better enabling environment to support a lot of young people in playing their part within the development of this bioeconomy that we're working towards. Any last addition from yourself, Ms. Cynthia Wambui? Anything you want to add to that?
I think I'd just like to second and third my colleagues. Finances, policies, those are very key things that we need to look at because as much as we have ideas, as much as we have innovations, we need people who can invest in us and not just invest in us, even us ourselves take ownership because just like Jack has said, when you own something, you're more dedicated to it compared to having someone else take care of it rather than you running it. And then the government support also to just be keen on the things that are mentioned because I feel like these are not new topics. We have had them over and over again. I feel like more attention to local communities would go a long way. Yeah, I think that's
Great. Thank you guys very much. This has been quite an insightful conversation and discussion around the way forward and our involvement in this space. I'll just look into some of the chat and the questions that have been posed. Here's one from Shira Mukibi. How can we get the youth interested in participating in developing bioeconomy startups which appear to be unattractive compared to the purely ICTs and fintech which are well funded and more attractive or cool for youth? I'll hand this over perhaps to some of the startup leaders and innovators here, how can we get young people interested? How have you guys been able to get your startups up and running and the interest there in place? Maybe perhaps Mr. Kolade, you can add to this, and I'll also ask Mr. Kiabaronge to respond to that as well. How have you guys managed to get it to be a much more attractive area compared to the ICTs and fintechs? Go ahead, Mr. Oladeji.
No, I didn't get your question, Kelly.
The question is, how can we get the youth interested in participating in developing bioeconomy startups?
Okay, I think the first major one has to be there has to be proper awareness. You know, a proper awareness, like youth really needs to know what bioeconomy is. You know what it entails, the opportunities involved. Because without the awareness, they going into it or probably having interest in it wouldn't yield any positive results. So there has to be more awareness to the whole bioeconomy. So if the awareness is everywhere, then awareness and mentors in the bioeconomy line that can creating a mentorship programs, for youths in bioeconomy, then Africa will be at the top.
No, definitely, definitely. I think there was also a mention in the previous session around platforms for collaboration. Perhaps, Alex, you can add to that. How do you think we can get more young people interested in participating in developing bioeconomy startups?
I think from my perspective is that we need a motivation. We need to motivate the young entrepreneurs, the young scientists, the young people who are coming out with ideas and innovations. They need a motivation, because motivation can be in terms of maybe one can be awards that we are having. We like I always see that there is Miss Tourism, there is Miss Uganda, something like that, and they look into the regions, looking at the different models who can compete until they reach the country level. Now, if we had that kind of motivation for young scientists, and they will say at the end of the day, the best probably 5 startups or innovations or will have these different prizes, that could be a good motivation for someone who has something on paper. It's a project, and they haven't gone ahead to scale it up. They can say, oh, there's an opportunity here. I can go ahead and do this and compete in this kind of competition, and I can be able to make it. I can have my startup to another level. So that kind of motivation is needed. On top of that, we need to restructure the way how we teach science. Because for young people, if I come to a biology class and I just listen to the old biology of the 70s, the 90s, how things have been, then there is no motivation. But we need to coordinate the biology that started up and now the biology that we have or the technology that we have, bring them together and show the young people that actually in doing this kind of subject, you have ABC as kind of opportunities for you. In Uganda, I don't know if it is everywhere in East Africa, we have biology or the biologicals or the sciences. When you come out, you know that you're going to become a doctor, you're going to become an engineer. And even in the arts section, you're going to become a lawyer, a social scientist. But there is no one who talks about those small specialized kind of courses, like biotechnology, synthetic biology, molecular biology, biochemistry. All those, when you go specializing, you understand better and you can actually identify the gaps and you come up with an area you can actually solve the challenges that you're posed to. So we need to specialize our education system, at least at the university level, from the high school to the university level, so that we can tune the mind of these young scientists, young entrepreneurs, so that they have a light of where they are going.
Yeah, definitely. I think you raised such good points there. And I think you've both raised good points around creating awareness, ensuring there are incentives in place to encourage young people to participate within the bioeconomy, but also our educational systems are targeted in highlighting some of the business cases around what tapping into the bioeconomy could mean for jobs, could mean for the environment and all the elements of the sustainability measures that need to showcase the business case of it. So I think you've highlighted good points there. I think now let's just hear from the audience what they think the opportunities are for youth within their own respective countries. So we'll have a poll up where we want to hear what you think are the opportunities available for youth within the bioeconomy. So there's a list of options there on, bioeconomy educational programs, incentives, which we've already heard being highlighted, regulatory frameworks that support the advancement of the bioeconomy, and awareness programs. So we've already heard some of our young people highlighting some of these. I'll be interested to hear from the audience what they think is the opportunities that we need to be drawing in a little more on in their respective countries. So yes, I'll let everyone respond to that. But while that's going on, we also have a question here from the audience, and I'll pass it over to Ms. Cynthia and Mr. Jacques. This is, what do you think? Do you think that more capacity building is necessary for the setup and management of SMMEs? I'll start with you, Ms. Cynthia. Do you think that more capacity building is necessary for the setup and management of SMMEs?
Thank you so much for that question. Yes, I feel like we need to increase our capacity because how do we go forward without capacity?
We need people to understand that we can't operate still in small scale. If it's projects that people have, why don't we go all in? And if we see if it's a viable project and it can bring positive outcomes, why not build the capacity for this person to go ahead and produce results that we can use for our country, and so on and so forth. Maybe Mr. Jack can add.
Thank you so much, Tokelo, for that question, and thank you, Cynthia. Capacity will be very important, like what I say, and it is in the ESC strategy of skilling our youth, because someone comes up with an idea, and you find yourself, maybe you are alone. You don't have human resource, you don't have the available data, you don't have the trainings, and you get frustrated. At the end of the day, that idea and the startup dies. But if we can put, and the ESC is doing it, they are putting the programs, they are putting the funds, they are partnering with GIZ and other organizations to ensure that youth are trained, youth are prepared for the agenda of a better Africa. But what we need to do there is maybe to not babysit these young people. Let them be trained, let them be independent, let them get the skills that are available through our education systems, through we have now the directorates of industrial training. And most member states are now investing in these vocational institutions. They are now focusing on skilling as a way of training, scenario-based teaching to just challenge these young people, their minds, to ensure that they focus on problem solving rather than being there to wait. The strategy of focusing on production rather than consuming. And like Rwanda is doing it, for example, if you're an engineer in Rwanda and there is a multinational company that is going to do a project, 80% of the young people who are supposed to work there must be Rwandans. And I think that one comes with the skills, because it shows that the labor force, if I come with a project and I find I don't have the young people to work on that particular project, then that means it will create a skill gap, and the government will go back and train the young people. So when we involve those policies, at the end of the day, it will favor us as East Africans. And we have just started. I won't say they are baby steps. We are somewhere, but what we need to do is to ensure that we amplify and focus. And even the young people out there, let us get interested in production. Let us get interested in learning things that can help our region. Even when you get a chance of going to a certain training in the region, because these trainings have been put there. Like now in Arusha, it's like a hub. There is ULEAD, we have a youth parliament there, we have multinationals there. But young people, let's change our attitude also. When these things are brought, let's learn the skills that are going to help what? To help the region. We wouldn't sit and say governments are not doing anything, when in actual sense, our attitudes towards these scientific innovations are also, because when we were studying, guys used to tell us, me, I can't do chemistry, me, I can't do this because it's hard. So how are we going to be innovative? We cannot let 1, 2, 3 youth do the work, then we become the burden. No, we need to encourage young people out there. When these skills are put in place, when these trainings are brought, make sure you go there and get a skill with the right attitude and the right mind, focused to change your region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think what you've just mentioned echoes what the audience thinks are the audience says are the opportunities available for youth, where 76, sorry, no, that's the wrong one. Where 70% of them mentioned that the key opportunities for youth is around bioeconomy educational programs, with 20% highlighting that incentives for youth, bio-innovators are the opportunity, and only 10% saying awareness programs. So it's quite clear that educational programs are where a lot of the audience are seeing the opportunity to further develop the bioeconomy with the young people at the core of it. I think let's just go into the audience and hear if there are any questions there in ICPE.
Yeah, me I have a contribution to make. Actually, I'm impressed that the youth now they are talking about the bioeconomy. If you want your thing to roll out, you tell the youth, and they'll be able to roll it. The issue of bioeconomy actually it's just a terminology, but youth are doing. I've been I'm by entrepreneur coach for more than 6 years. I've coached the first degree graduates, and I have seen the way I was coaching them is to give them the issues of bioentrepreneurship, how you can do it, because they have the knowledge. And I can testify that I have one CEO who owns a company on biofood. I have another CEO, she owns a company on biofeed. She just at producing innovative biofeeds. I have two CEOs. They own a company, they are dealing with the cassava value chain. I have another CEO, they are dealing with the biofertilizer production. Actually, we had a project through this Bioinnovate phase 2. They are producing biofertilizer, and they are making their life. They're employing the other graduates. I also have some other small startups. They are dealing with they are producing probiotic juice. You have the fruit pills. This lady, she's turning them into a probiotic juice, a juice which is quite unique. All of the juices we are drinking in here, they are not probiotic. In a way, they are dead anyway. But she produces the one which is actually probiotic. So I could say that something is happening. When youth are taught about entrepreneurship, they'll be able to do. And we have some examples. This is where I was at the University of Dar es Salaam. I also happen to have a fund from COSTECH. They do technology. I know there's in Uganda, there's in Kenya. They set up the fund on how to establish a bioinnovation hub. I was the PI and they were established a bioinnovation hub. So we are actually interested to tap all students who are doing the biosciences. We have coached them, and then they have small startups companies. For them, I was asking, what is the main problem? They were saying that is how to be able to, the idea to be organized. What about capital? Yeah, if I can produce a minimal viable product, then I could be starting, improving the cash flow. Let me end up here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and for highlighting some of those interesting innovations that are already underway in the region. I think it's quite exciting that we are making progress. I wonder if there's any other questions there. I think that will be the last one until we wrap up the session.
Thank you. My name is Amiambi Fortunate. I have just a minute for every young bio-entrepreneur. I'm very impressed by the work you are doing. And that's what East African Science and Technology is mandated to support and facilitate such innovations. One is a question on the challenges. How do you cope up with patents? You have innovated and your product is ready for commercialization, but how do you find patent registration for your innovation products at the country level? And the second is, as you Alinta said, scientists try to talk to themselves. During the design of your products, how do you cope up with business skills? Because being a chemist, being an agriculturist, being a nutritionist, there is that part of the lacking of the business skills in your product design, packaging, marketing, until you get a profit out of your product. How do you cope up with such? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we start with Mr. Alex in the audience? Do you want to respond to that question?
I think those were very good questions, Mr. Fortunate. One, from the patent side, I will talk from experience. When we developed our bacteria that was going to have a solution for the plastic pollution, we had a challenge of patenting it or copyrighting it. because one, we didn't have a regulation that is regulating biotechnology. The bill was, stalled. And you could go to the registration bureau and they will tell you this is within biotechnology and we do not have a regulation for it. So how are you going to patent it? And I think by that, it means that if someone copied that innovation, maybe in America or somewhere, they could easily patent it. And you will not have a say because it's first patent. So it is challenging. Then on part of the other question was about business skills. So that's where I came up with the multidisciplinary collaboration. Because the challenge is that we have as scientists is science communication. Having your product, but how can you be able to communicate it to the public so that they understand it? And in IGM, we emphasize it through human practices. In human practices is how your project affects the world and how the world affects your project. So we need to embrace science communication from the grassroots level, from those who are just starting up to those who are advocating for the policies. And I think it is still a challenge, but we are going to solve it with time. So it is very important to advocate for science communication and on how the public perceives your innovations, your projects, and everything. And that comes with the bill that we talked about. When you talk about synthetic biology or biotechnology in Uganda, everyone knows about GMOs. You're changing for us the seeds. You're bringing seeds from outside. You're incorporating the genes that we do not have here. We need our native species. We do not need anything else. But then how can we be able to convince the public that it's not about bringing the genes, but it's about transforming the varieties that we have to sustain the production. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alex. I think I can give one more person to respond to that, and that will just be it. I don't know if anyone wants to take it.
Thank you, Mr. Okello, and thank you so much, our Executive Secretary, for those wonderful questions. This brings what I was talking about on the issue of partnerships, that we cannot do science alone. And for us as the East Africa Youth Network, through the Regional Dialogue Committee, we have the East African Business Council. So what we do, the youth that are in business and are in innovation, and we have a chance, if they are doing their businesses, each member state has the private sector foundation. So the private sector foundation, those are the national chapters for the East African Business Council. And what they do is to ensure that they impart business skills in young people. Actually, the member states that have the youth councils, those leaders, the moment they become leaders, we have trainings, we train them, we have trainings for businesses so that they can know the issues like patents. For example, it's very hard, like for the Ugandan case, they are now trying to look for a legislation. Started in music, they were complaining, now it has gone to the science. Rwanda is doing a little bit better, and maybe Kenya also, but Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, and South Sudan, young people are doing innovation is still a challenge. And we are now saying, let's partner. Mr. Muyambi, let's partner, involve us, the East Africa Youth Network. I know you're doing a great job with the youth, but let us work unison to ensure that these skills are gotten by everyone, not the one who has just gotten a chance. So I thank you so much, and I hope you're getting an interest to ask us these questions. You might be having some answers already. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacques. I think that concludes the session. It has been quite an insightful conversation and discussion, hearing what the challenges are, what solutions are available, and how we can take them forward. I think at this stage, I'll be inviting Ms. Dora Momanyi, who will be wrapping up the session for us and closing it. And just to give a bit of an intro of her, she's the founder of the Nutritious Agriculture Network. She also serves as a part-time lecturer at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, where she graduated with a Master of Science degree in Food Science and Nutrition. Dora has also been named among the winners of the 2021 RU Forum Young African Entrepreneur Competition. She leads the IPOP Africa Initiative, Reclaiming the Sovereignty of Indigenous Grains. And she's also a fellow of the Bioinnovate Africa and an alumnus of the Young African Leaders Initiative. I think she's quite an amazing young woman, and she'll be here to close up the session for us. Over to you, Dora. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Tokelo. So the key points or the keywords coming from the discussion that has just ended, one is the youth, sustainability, creating awareness, education, partnerships, shaping our attitude as youth, and financial commitments. So I would like to use the Kenyan favorite of saluting you all, all protocols observed. Yeah? As we come to a close of the 5th session for this second East Africa Bioeconomy Conference, I think I want us to give a I want us to appreciate the keynote speakers seated right here, and of course our moderator. Let's clap for them, literally, actually. They have done a very, very, very good job. It is my pleasure sharing this platform with you big brains. We can agree they are big brains, yeah? And also an honor that you young people who are online and some seated here physically, and of course our forerunners, those who have gone ahead of us, that you chose wisely to be here today, and particularly for this session. Thank you, Bioinnovate Africa, for slotting as young people a chance to dialogue and touch base on what is happening in the bioeconomy spectra around Africa and, of course, around the world. As we all know, young people account for more than 16% of the global population, and 90% of them live in developing countries. As we know even better, that the momentum and success of a thriving bioeconomy will be as a result of the efforts of these large numbers of young people who will deliberately choose to propel the agenda of bioeconomy. I think we have clearly said nothing for the youth without the youth. The first time I boarded a plane, I was going to Japan. Of course, I came back as I'm standing here today with some small monies, yeah? Don't plan to rob me because I ate all of them. I could have chosen to start a business because I had some small capital and some business ideas, but my entrepreneurship instincts were actually dead. I didn't do that. Anyway, why could I choose to limp into a path that only rare human beings, and by rare I mean very disciplined, people who have extra sacrifice, dedication, and commitment, choose to enter successfully? Why could I, when the propensity of the thing called failure, you actually see it coming as an entrepreneur? Why could I choose to hustle, yeah? Or make things happen and work outside my comfort zone in a world where inaction and over-promising yet under-delivering is very common? So I spent my small monies cushioning myself from the shocks you get as a master's student here. So today, as the founder of the Nutritious Agriculture Network, I spend most of my time compensating for the times I lost not choosing the entrepreneurship path. Not because it is any easier today, yeah, but it is so hard that any normal person, any rational person could actually give up. It's just because when you work on something that you know is going to change the world, you keep working on it. You remember those monies I used to cushion myself? It turns out I really made a good decision because today one of the award-winning initiatives I lead, the IPOP Africa, stemmed from my journey as a master's student. So the IPOP Africa initiative basically contributes to a thriving bioeconomy through utilizing our rich biodiversity of indigenous cereals that are often forgotten, name them sorghum, millet, and amaranth. So what we do is we transform these indigenous grains into convenient, healthy, and affordable breakfast cereals, snacks, and cereal and lunch bars. If you want to have a taste of this, see me, I carried some for you. Indeed, unlocking the value of indigenous crops, coupled with the changing consumer demands, presents opportunities for Africa to sustainably capitalize on Africa's biodiversity. So recently I was in Uganda. Ugandans in the house. They call it the Pearl of Africa. If you're a foodie like me, you will want to go there because you only need to buy stew and you get the rest of the starches for free, but it's not very free, yeah? I was hosted in Makerere University as a Bioinnovate Africa Women Fellow. As we all know by now, Bioinnovate Africa is the largest regional innovation-driven bioeconomy platform in Africa. So the Bioinnovate Africa Women Fellowship basically is an initiative to increase involvement in bioentrepreneurship and bioeconomy. The women create an invaluable alumni network that is very accessible to young girls and women who can derive role models and mentors in bioinnovation. It also provides a comfortable space where women can brainstorm on regional problems and solutions as well. The network, having co-hosted an independent food system dialogue this year, propels, among other agendas, the sustainable food systems, leaving no one behind. This week, it's the second week at the COP26, and we know delegates have agreed, among others, on ending deforestation, as well as ending finance on fossil fuels. And sometime this year in September, the Food System Summit in the New York, also there was about 300 commitments, which all pledged to redesigning our broken food systems. And we know in the midst of COVID-19, we know all our recovery strategies should be green. We can see a lot of big commitments, but we always miss out the details of when and how much, and who should do what. But one thing we are very clear about is that we cannot rely on our finite resources to meet the demands from COP26, the demands from the Food System Summit, and our green COVID recovery strategies. And of course, more demands coming from the Nutrition for Growth Summit that is happening in December this year. So just to remind you, that is why we have all been gathered here for 2 days to talk bioeconomy. Because a sustainable industrialization model, words of the ambassador from Sweden to Kenya, that will meet the regions and Africans and as well as global needs for a healthy planet and a healthy people. As young people in front of me have already agreed, like Alex, we can use responsible genetic engineering as a critical technology. Like the exhibitors yesterday whom we interacted with, we can develop and commercialize innovative bio-based food products from our indigenous, from our very own bioresources. We can develop agro-processing initiatives and also leverage on aquaculture, and of course I can't miss to say entomology as a promising cost-effective means of sustainable sources of proteins. And of course, from this panel, we've also heard that we need to voice our voices on the policy table to solve our social challenges. So we can all agree up to now that a strong bioeconomy is really cross-cutting, and we need, and as youths, we all need to come together. Hashtag partnerships, yeah? It requires co-funding. We can't say this more better, but it requires co-funding and resource mobilization to support innovations from the youth. And also it actually requires local political will and structures that will see our bio-innovative products reach the markets and the mainstream. We also, as we have said, we need agro-innovation hubs that enable technology transfer. And as Alex said, again, I'm over-mentioning you, we need to recognize and award young innovators. Probably we need to see a Miss Economy East Africa, And I think one more thing we need to do is monetize the benefits that come as a result of investing in bioeconomy. So what the youth can do, as we have presented, and our asks as the youth are actually in line with the East Eco-Strategic Framework. And we know this plan is being implemented, but we look forward to its reinforcement so that the young people seated here today and those watching us online can duly benefit from the bioeconomy that is actually not as controlled. For sure, bioeconomy should be viewed as a long-term strategy for poverty alleviation, job creation, economic development, climate change mitigation and adaptation, and of course, household food security in East Africa, Africa, and of course, globally. There has never been a better time to bring this strategy to life. I hope this session and this conference sparks your interest in the bioeconomy space. That space is very big. We can all fit in there. Because you actually need to be part of the economy, part of the bioeconomy journey as it unfolds in our individual countries in East Africa and Africa as well. Thank you so much. It is now my pleasure to introduce Professor Tatien Masharabu from University of Burundi for his closing remarks. Professor Masharabu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, in your respective capacities. First of all, allow me to thank Bioeconomy CP Management for the opportunity they granted me to give these closing remarks of session 5 dedicated to shaping the future of African bioeconomy, stories from young entrepreneurs, under the topic titled Opportunities for Bio-Entrepreneurship in Africa. I'm going to make kind of linkage between this conference and the previous Science and Technology conference held in Bujumbura, particularly for youth. So, reference made to the second East Africa Community Science, Technology and Innovation Conference, which took place between 27th and the 29th of October this year in Bujumbura. YAF participated massively, both in the conference, particularly in parallel sessions and in exhibition. The theme of the conference was the role of science, technology and innovation in East African community, regional integration, socioeconomic development in the face of COVID-19 pandemic. And the key objective of the regional conference was to provide a platform for information and knowledge sharing through conference presentations and publication. The second EAC STI conference, these are statistics, it attracted a massive 733 registrations from all over the EAC partner states and a total of about 5,000 people joined the meeting virtually over the 3 days at various meetings. And the conference was a testimony of EAC integration. Very important recommendations and commitments were made for further follow-up. The participants therefore committed to build innovation ecosystems for a sustainable socioeconomic development in the all East African partner states. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude my few remarks, I wish to remind you that it was noted that digitalization and bioeconomy are key drivers for the growth of the regional productive sectors such as agriculture, industry, and services. And this matches well with the topic on which this session has been discussing on opportunities for bio-entrepreneurship in Africa. Many thanks for the contributions from Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda. They are doing well in the aim of shifting the paradigm from job seekers to job creators. We look forward to strengthening our cooperation in the months and the years ahead, particularly in the biologically based technology, which is a promising investment area for job creation, climate change mitigation and adaptation, and subsequent outcomes in Africa. Yeah, of course, young people are engaged, and from their experience, what they need more are, for example, training in business modeling. They need also technical and financial support, and a good policy environment to take advantage of the regional bioeconomy strategy. It is with these few remarks that I wish to close the session by stating that globally, the second EAC STI conference and this second Eastern Africa Bioeconomy Conference are landmark accomplishments for the people of East Africa. They brought together a wide range of activities, including, among others, conservation biology, climate change, environmental science, food science, agribusiness, biotechnology, molecular biology, indigenous knowledge, health, entrepreneurship, rural development, ICT, and so on. This sounds finally as a golden opportunity offered to young entrepreneurs to create our own bio-based solutions instead of still exporting jobs. Long live BioInnovate, ICIP, and partners. I thank you.
I think with that, I will thank you and say my last sentiment that, the work continues. It does not end here. And the conversations and implementations and the work that needs to be done is only the beginning. So thank you all, and thank you very much.